Hello everyone, welcome to Synergy Assessments. Now we're going to make a multi-part question. And for some reason, Synergy currently is not working properly. So bear with me on how I show you this. But what a multi-part question is this, where I can have one question, use the first quadrant of the unit circle to find the value and the picture. And that's I have on the right here, I have a bunch of questions that I want answered on it. You can see there's a whole lot of questions. This way, I don't have to use first quadrant, put the picture in, put cosine of pi over 4, and then have that as an individual question, then put the same thing in another question, then have sine pi over 3, and then put the same thing in another question, and have tan pi over 6. Instead of doing that, I can just do it once and have all my questions here on the right. And this is extremely useful if you're an English or history teacher or science or whatever, and you have like a reading passage on the left and then a bunch of questions on the right. That way they can read through the passage, answer the question, then go to the next one and read through, answer the question, then next, and without having to click back and forth and reread and everything. It's very nice. And this is, as a tech coach, this is the type of question I get asked the most to help people to do. They find this the most useful. A lot of teachers use this. So um, to do that, this on the left is called a passage. And then these are questions. So I already showed you multiple choice questions, text entry questions, and line questions. So that's what these are. And they can be a mix of them. You can see mine are all text entry, but you don't have to have them all be text entry. One could be multiple choice, one could be inline choice, one could be text entry, one could be number line. You could put all the different choices in here. It doesn't have to be the same all the way through. It can be if you want, like I did, but it doesn't have to be. As well, advanced scoring still works. So if I had advanced scoring on this question, and if I had 3 different text entry spots, then the advanced scoring would still be in there. So you would have to make the questions just like you normally make a question. Then you would have to make a question. Now, yes, multi-part is definitely more involved to create than just creating a question. First, you have to create your questions. Then you have to create your passage. Then you have to put them all together in a question. So it's definitely a little more involved, but definitely worth it. So I've created my questions. Now I'm going to go to passage. Remember, passage is this left side, this part that's not going to move, the part that all the questions are based off of. And you can see I have a bunch of passages here. And I'm going to click new. The passage title is right here up on the left right here. That is, they will see that. So when you title it, make sure you title it something they'll see. The passage, this is just like your prompt in a question. You have everything you can. This is the passage that you see that the students will see, but you have everything just like you're creating a question here. You can put in a picture, whatever you want. You always want status to be live. You always want it to be in a bank, and you want to put a subject on it, whatever subject you're using. So I'm not going to use this one, so I'm just going to type in a couple of things. The problem with passages is it's not a huge deal, but just like when you create a question, you want the question number to be able to put in the assessment. Same thing with the passage. So I'm going to hit save, and you'll notice when we did questions, the question ID number popped right up. When I do passage, it does not. So you can see the save is light green, so I know I saved it. So all I do is return, and it'll take me to all my passages. You can see I have 67 of them. Then you would find that passage and write down the number. I have 67 of them, so I'd have to search a little bit, but you may not, so it might pop up and be right there. But I'm going to go to the end here, and you can see there's that AD1, and there's my passage ID number, 361. Okay. Now, once I have my passage and I have my questions all created, then I would go back to assessment items. So just like I'm creating a question, I'm going to create a new one. And now my item type now is multi-part. Now you're going to want a bank, just like normal, status live, total points. You can see it says questions, but it doesn't say passage, and we need that passage in there. So to get that passage, what we want to do is come over to the gear and click on the gear, and we would click add a passage. Now from there, I would select the passage, or once you have the passage, you would do select questions. They both look kind of the same. We'll select the passage, and I'd put that passage number in there. This was a different passage number. And then I would click it. So when it first comes up, it won't be green. It'll be gray around here where it's green. You have to click it. And then once you click it, you would hit done selecting, and my passage is there. Same thing for questions. I'd select question. So that passage right there, once again, is the left part. These are questions on the right. So I type in my ID number for those questions. It would come up here once I hit apply filter, and I would click it, and I would click it, and I would click it. And I would do that. And here's one that I've done already. There's my passage, and then here's all my questions. And then once I've done, all I do is hit save, and it goes right in there. And that's how you do multi-part. And then you would put that into assessment, and then that question will look like this. And you can see too, my whole test doesn't have to be this way. You can see, or assessment, whatever you use it for. Here's just a regular text answer question. That's question number 1, question number 2, and so on and so forth. And then once I get to my multi-part question, there's my multi-part question. So the whole test doesn't have to be like that. You can just have a pass, and you can have numerous multi-part questions in an assessment. So maybe you have numerous passages that you want. Here's one passage, read and answer 4 questions on it. That's one question. And then the next one would be, here's another passage, read, answer 3 or 4 questions on it. So you can put multiple ones in there. It definitely makes it better for student viewing, student answering, and once again, Synergy will grade it for you and everything like that. So that is creating a multi-part question.